Welcome to this bonus episode of Timm Talk, the podcast, most usually, about the DC animated universe, co-created by Bruce Timm. I'm Chris Lord.
I'm Cameron Dexter.
And we are back for our 2021 year in review.
Our final
year in review, actually, yes. And also worth noting, part of the reason we ended up having to do this is this marks our 50th bonus episode. 50 bonus episodes. 50
bone episodes? Are we shortening things now?
I wish I could say that was me making like a douchey abbrev. I'm just tired.
Yeah.
I'm just tired and can't think.
We're not that kind of podcast.
No.
We're the opposite. We like to really stretch things out. There's no shortening in any topic.
I'm just gonna skirt around the combination of words bone and stretching things out and just move along here swiftly.
Okay.
But yeah, it's our 2021 review. A hard year to review in some way. Well, obviously we're not reviewing the whole year. If I were, I would give it a
4.
I guess 3 out of 5.
Oh, I was going out of 10.
Oh, okay. I was like, because we usually go like out of 5. I'm like, I don't know. Like on one hand, I finally found like my dream job, which has been super fucking cool and like cool opportunities along the way. But on the other hand, a lot of other shit really, really sucked.
Mm-hmm.
So.
So we'll specifically be talking about television and movies.
Exactly.
Our forte.
Yes, our forte, our entertainment. We'll be sticking with that. But even within that, a weird year to review, because I think you and I had a similar problem was like having a really hard time finding enough movies to fill out a top 5, but also having a really hard time whittling down enough TV shows.
Yeah.
To fill out top 5.
This has been a TV heavy year for us.
Well, it makes sense. We were at home for almost the entirety of it.
That's true.
You know, like I think I saw like maybe 33 new movies this year. I think you were around the same.
Yeah, I was like 36, 37.
Yeah.
And that's including like straight to streaming movies.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's on top of the like 6 holiday movies I watched that were all fine.
Oh, sweet Jesus, Cameron. You can do better.
I can.
You can do better than annual holiday garbage. So but a weird year nonetheless. Hopefully you all had an okay year and had some really good entertainment. So we'll dive into this. I think it's fair to say like there will be spoilers probably for some things. There will be a longer discussion around Spider-Man No Way Home, and we will flag before we get into that we'll be going into full spoiler territory at that time. And of course, there's always timestamps down in the show notes if you want to jump around a little bit.
Yes.
But let us start off with some TV here. So we're gonna go in our usual fashion, counting from 5 up to 1, going back and forth, and catching whenever we have a similar thing. So Cameron, why don't you start us off? What was your number 5 TV show of 2021?
Great. I think we weirdly this year we share a lot of common interest in television shows. I feel like usually we're pretty split.
I think that is fair on both counts. Yes.
And so I'm gonna guess we have 3 overlapping things, including this one.
Okay.
My number 5 is Sex Ed season 3.
We shall get to that.
Yep.
All right. My number 5 is Only Murders in the Building.
Okay, well, that's my number 4.
Okay, so we can talk about it.
There we go.
It's so fucking charming.
It's so good.
It's just like, I never would have thought that Selena Gomez would make a perfect comedy pairing with Steve Martin and Martin Short, but she did.
Yeah.
She's incredible.
I assume you never watched Wizards of Waverly Place.
It's a very fair assumption, Cameron, and yes, you're right. I never did.
She plays very similar characters between both shows.
Okay.
Where she's the like not the antithesis of comedy, but she's always the dark edge.
The kind of the straight man?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't really even call her a straight man. She's just like the darker voice. But yeah, we'll go with straight man for simplicity. Mm-hmm. She's so good at it.
She is.
Which is weird because I feel like
good.
this is so far from her like real life persona.
Yeah.
But I mean, she's been playing this kind of character for 8 years.
I've never really seen her in anything prior to this, but she's so good at being dry.
Mm-hmm.
And she brought that sort of like dark, mysterious edge to the whole thing. But just like the whole show was just really quirky and fun. And like such a weird concept. And like maybe we're slightly biased as podcasters that it's about a podcast. But I thought even the sort of commentary on podcasting and podcasters and podcast listeners didn't feel like it was written by someone who didn't understand that world. It actually felt like, oh yeah, this is not far off.
Yeah.
Which oftentimes you kind of were like, oh, this is going to be really shitty. Like I think of the Halloween reboot from David Gordon Green, which I overall really like. But in that, there are these two like true crime podcast journalists who are like the worst people on the planet and like the worst journalists on the planet. Like this is not anything like accurate. And I thought this was actually like pretty accurate, despite the fact that they get amazing sound quality off of like the worst recording situations.
Oh yeah, in an elevator. It's like you're gonna get some humming in there.
Yeah, he's just like walking around with. It's not even like a Zoom. It's like something really really obvious. Like it's a phone most of the time. He's just like recording voice memos on his phone and completely unsound deadened spaces and getting immediate audio quality. I'm like, maybe not.
Going back to Selena for a quick second and talking about her like dry humor. I think in 2021, I don't think Martin Short's style of comedy works anymore, but because he's paired with like such a dry character, he's playing such a low status character now, and that's why it works.
I love him. I've always loved him.
Me too.
I think he's absolutely fantastic.
Him and Steve Martin, they're such an amazing pair.
They are, and you know, again, I think if I recall, Steve Martin was one of the writers on this.
I think so.
And given that, I was like, ooh, could this maybe just be like a little bit out of touch? And it didn't feel that way. It actually felt like very much kind of in touch with what's going on. And for me, Martin Short, like, it's just so funny. I think the funniest line for me in the entire show is the episode with Sting, like Sting playing himself, also living in the building, and he's staying in the elevator with his dog. He's like, no, don't stand so close to Sting. It's just like, my God, it's so brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, they're both great, but I don't think they could do this show without Selena. Like, I don't think it would have hit nearly as big of...
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think it's the trio of them that really makes it work at the end of the day.
And it's great to see all of them coming back, because I haven't seen any of them acting in a while.
Yeah, same. It's got a really good supporting cast, too, and it's short. It's, 10 episodes?
Yeah.
10, 30-minute episodes. Really easy to get through.
Yeah, season 2 has already been announced, which is also a great plus.
Super cute. Came out of nowhere. Absolutely loved it. All right, so that was your number 4.
Yeah, what's your number 4?
My number 4 was the third and final season of Lost in Space on Netflix.
That's very you.
It is very me, and like it is very me. And the reason it got such high placement for me at the end of the day was that it really stuck the landing, which is hard to do. And this is not a pun on the fact they fly around a spaceship that constantly lands and takes off. They stuck the landing of the finale, which is a very hard thing to do. And I found this season, like, it looked gorgeous. It was really emotional. Like, this is a show that I actually think has done a really good job hitting emotional beats that hit very sincerely. Like, it actually gets me to, like, kind of tear up a little bit. That happened multiple times throughout this season. Just the emotional impact of all of it. And the fact that the story found a conclusion that didn't feel contrived is really impressive. Not, like I said, not an easy thing to do.
Yeah. I almost put another thing on my top 5 just because it stuck the landing. It's because that's so rare nowadays.
No, it really is. And I think so many shows, you fall in love with them, and then they get to the end, and you're like, well, that was fine, I guess. And I think that these 3 seasons just stand as like this one kind of long ongoing story that's really, really fantastic and emotional and has a really nice arc for everyone at the end of the day. I highly recommend watching the whole thing, especially now that it's done. Just go watch them all.
Yeah, you've been plugging this show since season 1.
It's great. Look, I grew up watching the old 60s TV show. I'm probably one of the few people on the planet that has a soft spot for the really shitty 98 movie, just because I was like 9 years old when it came out.
It was perfect timing.
It was perfect timing. But there's things I like about that nonetheless. I just think it's a great concept, and I think Netflix found a really fantastic way to bring that back around and make it work and make it feel modern and distinct and still bring in a lot of those elements of the old show without it feeling hokey, which that show in the 60s was really, 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 really hokey a lot of the time. So,
got it.
Really great.
There's a slight tangent. I was going to talk to you about this before we started recording, but I want to bring it up just really quick.
How dare you?
I know. I think I've brought this show up before, but it's a YouTube show where they have professional visual effects artists and stunt performers come out and
I think I've seen this,
review stunt work.
Yeah.
They just posted an episode, I think this morning, with Adam Savage talking about the VFX of Star Trek and Star Wars.
Ooh, that would be cool.
And because Adam Savage worked at ILM, which worked on both of the movies. And he was talking about, like, they were all in the same room. Like, they'd share a table one side would be the Star Trek designers, and then the
Yeah.
other side would be the Star Wars designers. They'd be talking about like what it takes to make the different ships, and it's you would love it. I
Okay,
feel
I'm
like.
gonna
It's
check
very
that out.
much your realm.
Yeah, I'm
Since
definitely
you
gonna
were
check
a
that
fan
out.
of both.
I do. I love me some Star. Some Star Trek, some Star Wars.
Some stars in space.
Yeah. I honestly like. At the end of the day, I'm just a sucker for really good sci-fi. Like, Battlestar Galactica. That reboot was fucking amazing. Probably some of the best shows I've ever seen in my entire life. I really loved Lost in Space. It just hits me every time. Yeah. But yeah, that sounds awesome. We'll definitely check that out. That's great. Okay, what was your number 3?
My number 3 is Invincible.
Okay, that made an honorable mention, so let's go
Okay.
ahead and talk about it.
Yeah.
So-
Invincible, I think there's a lot you can say and kind of critique about the animation. It's a little shorthanded.
This is sort of a new animation style that I'm seeing pop up in other places as well. I think about Superman Man of Tomorrow, one of the newer DC animated movies. I felt had a similar kind of animation style, which is like simplistic. How would you describe the animation style on there?
Yeah.
It's weird.
So what I think is happening is American animation studios are understanding where Japanese animation studios are learning to cut costs. Because with Japanese animation, it's very much the same. It's you have a still foreground, you have a still background, you have very minimal foreground, and then it's just kind of the mouth and the face moving for most of the shots.
Okay, sure.
But where the two differ is American studios kind of just use that as a across the board cutting cost. So the whole episode is a little cheaper. Whereas in Japanese studios, they're basically cutting costs on the long scenes. So the short, high action scenes, they can throw all the money at.
That makes sense.
It's something called sakuga, which is like every frame is hand animated. You have like one artist working on this entire sequence. And it's just, that's when you have the explosions, the people running around and going through all these different like camera lens changes and these different perspectives. It's much cooler there than it is here.
I think that's fair. Yeah, I think the animation style leaves something desired a little bit, but I still found it effective though.
Yeah,
for the show
for a comic because it's so perfectly copies the style from the comic,
right?
And so I think it's an A+ digital comic.
Yeah, I think it's fair. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah,
with actual animated fight scenes.
Yeah, and I would say too that the voice performances in that are exceptional.
Absolutely, that's where all the money went, was the voice talent.
And I think that was a smart call on their part. If they were kind of hedging their bets, I think investing in the talent ultimately was the bigger payoff than investing in the animation, which I think there's a little bit left to be desired in the animation, but nothing at all to be left desired in terms of the voice performances, which are just great.
Bald mustachio J.K. Simmons.
I mean, look, if you can cast J.K. Simmons, you cast J.K. Simmons.
I guess he has hair in this one. It's just mustachio J.K. Simmons.
Mustachioed, always mustachioed. But like, Stephen Yeun's fantastic in this. Like
Sandra Oh.
Yeah,
Seth Rogen.
Seth Rogen. I mean, yeah, Seth Rogen's great. Jason Mantzoukas is great. Like,
oh man, yeah.
The whole supporting cast is phenomenal, and those characterizations really popped for me on screen. Like I really was invested in that world and those characters and the story they were telling.
Did you read the comic beforehand?
I haven't read it yet still.
Okay. I read maybe 2 issues past where the show ended.
Okay.
Or where season 1 ended. I assume we're going to get a season 2 at some point.
I think so. I don't remember confirmation one way or the other. But
Yeah, they haven't. I don't think they've announced anything yet.
I feel like it was a pretty big hit for Amazon when it came out, right?
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Clearly, it's in my top 5.
Yeah. Clearly. It
a very competitive year.
Yeah, very competitive year. Yeah, it ended up, I would say it's probably the top of my honorable mentions. Like it just got eked out.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot to talk about this year.
There's a lot.
But yeah, if you haven't seen Invincible, we're not really talking about the plot, which is good. You should go into this as clean as you can.
I would agree with that. Yeah, the less you know, the better. Better to be surprised as you go along.
Yeah, and it's great.
It is.
It's so good.
It's so much fun. That's a show that I was really excited every week for the new episode to come out.
Yeah.
I hope we get more.
Yeah.
I really hope we get more.
What's your number 2?
No, my number 3.
Oh, sorry, your number 3
is Sex Education Season 3.
There we go.
So let's get into it. All right. So what about it really stood out for you?
I mean, just being with these characters again is so great.
Yeah.
I think this one, we've talked about season 1 and season 2, while being modern shows, they're very much like 80s aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this one, I really felt the modern fight going on with like, it's conversation. I modern being like, I remember having these conversations when I was in high school.
Okay.
Of, the uniform versus no. I mean, I went to a school with uniforms.
Right. Yeah. No.
Okay.
No, I went to a public school that was basically essentially a private school because of because of like property taxes in the area, basically. So,
but like I remember talking with my public school friends, be like, "Oh no, uniforms are great. Like you don't have to think about it. Everyone wears the same thing." Our quote unquote form of creative expression was our ties, which was horrible. And, some of us lived through it like I did.
Look, I can relate. That was my form of creative expression when I was working at the agency.
Exactly.
It was, I had to wear a full suit every day. So it was, okay, how can I color coordinate my ties to my socks and really have it pop every single day?
Mm-hmm.
So I get it.
But no, I do think this season, I think it was missing something the other 2 seasons had. And I don't know what it is, but it's still so good.
Yeah.
It's so warm. What about you? What did you love about this season?
I mean, a lot of the same reasons. I always love returning to this world and these characters. And the show is also just so well made. It's so well written. The performances are exceptional. Always a great soundtrack. Just every single season. Just bumpers all the way through. I think some of the character arcs this season had particular emotional relevance for me. Particularly like Otis's story with who's the super hot girl? What's her name?
Oh, the popular girl.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
I feel bad not remembering.
Rose?
No. I feel bad not remembering her name. But his arc with her had, for me in my own personal life this year, some resonance, and so it was like kind of the show that I didn't know I needed until I was watching it. I was like, oh, I kind of needed this right now. So. It just landed in a way that
Ruby,
you were very close. His story with Ruby just landed in a way that other seasons hadn't because it felt that much more personal. But I mean, my own personal connection aside, it was just great storytelling all the way through. And like I actually kind of felt like, without going into specifics of what happened, I felt like it kind of ended in a way that I would have been really happy with the show, with one exception, with one plot thread exception.
The former principal?
The mom.
Oh, Otis's mom?
Yes.
Okay.
With the exception of a button at the end on her story, everything else to me felt like actually the right place to end this. And I guess we are getting in a 4th season, but it's like one of those things like they're not sure most likely what happened. I don't know. I think it's a show that's kind of written to like...
Oh, right. Okay, now I remember the ending. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a show that's might wrap up every season in a way to be the finale just in case they don't come back around.
Yeah.
I know some shows that have done that in the past. So I kind of would have been happy with an ending here. But that being said, if we are getting more, I'm never going to complain about getting more.
Right, yeah. I'm same. I'm happy where everyone ended.
Yeah. It's just so sweet.
It is.
It's just so good. Okay, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is one that I know is not on your list because I've been hounding you for weeks to watch this show.
Okay.
My number 2 is Arcane.
I know. I need to sit down and watch it. I almost sat down last night to start it, and I didn't. But I will. I will watch it.
I think once you start the first episode, you'll understand, and it's 9 episodes. I think you'll just blast through it once you start it.
And I fully expect to enjoy it. I just haven't gotten around to it yet.
Yeah, it is. I've talked about it ad nauseum. It's the most beautiful show I've seen this year.
Yeah.
Maybe the most beautiful American animation. I mean, it's not even American animation. Maybe the most beautiful animated series I've seen in my life.
Yeah. I have not talked to a single person who's watched it who hasn't loved it. Everyone seems to love it, which is crazy considering it's adapted from League of Legends, which I know nothing about. And everyone I talk to who loves it doesn't know anything about League of Legends and still loves this show.
At this point, I think it's probably better if you don't know anything about the show.
I can see that.
Because when I'm watching it, every character in foreground and background, I'm like, is that? No. Is that? No, it's not. But is that? No. I think, League has 120 something champions now. I haven't played it in 3 years.
I've never played it, so I don't know.
It's good. Don't. it took 9 years of my life. Like,
I know.
I talk about it like an addiction because it was.
I know. I can see you like scratching the back of your neck right now and like starting to twitch a little bit just thinking about it.
No, I have dreams about League still. Like, I'll still see matches in my head. It's bad.
Oh God, I love that so much.
But yeah, I'm so happy the show is good, not just for players.
Yeah.
Because then like the community has always joked for years, like the best thing about League isn't the game, it's the other content they've been putting out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the franchise has 4 in-game bands now. 2 of them being one of them being a wildly successful K-pop band called KDA.
Okay.
They're incredible. I don't want to. I think Imagine Dragons is probably already pretty big, but their biggest song from like 2016 was the theme song for Worlds, like the finals of League of Legends.
What was the song?
Warriors.
Oh, okay, I don't know if I know Warriors. Weirdly enough,
you probably heard it in the background in places.
Yeah.
But like that, like kind of like shot their symbol to an international level.
Yeah.
There's a band called Pentakill, which is like a metal band, which is great.
My God.
There's 2 others I can't remember right now, but like they are so good at just making all this other stuff to get people into this very toxic game.
You gotta lure them in. You gotta hook them.
Yeah, and so I'm happy because like I miss playing it every now and then. I remember how bad it is for me.
Yeah.
But I miss it, and so having something else I can watch to kind of fill that like void. 'Cause I know 9 years.
Yeah,
it's a third of my life I spent playing this game.
I know, right?
It's nice to have something else I can latch onto into this world.
Yeah,
and again, it's incredible storytelling.
Yeah, I need to watch
it. It's Shakespearean.
I'll probably end up watching it at some point over the holidays. Just a little bit of downtime. I'll sit down and watch it. So.
Yes, I'm very excited for you.
Yeah, it's one of those weird ones where like it's a show that I simultaneously want to watch / I kind of need to watch it for work. And this is as dumb as this sounds. Because I know I need to watch it for work, there's a part of me that goes like,
yeah, you're going to look at it through critical lens instead of just
a little bit, yeah. But I'm pretty sure I'm still going to enjoy it from everything I've heard about it. And and like me having to watch stuff for work is like the lowest stakes thing possible. I'm not the one who has to talk about it, so what does it matter what I think about it?
I mean, that's how I feel about some of the episodes we watch.
Yeah,
is like if I didn't have to take notes, I feel like I'd enjoy this so much more.
Exactly. Yeah, it's when you have to approach it from a critical lens, all of a sudden it shifts your perspective. But I can just be like, no one's hearing me talk about it, so what the fuck does it matter?
Yeah, I thought you were gonna say you're afraid of watching it just because you enjoy spiting me of not watching it.
There is an element of that is a little bit satisfying. So, I really love that I can literally do nothing and make you mad.
Yeah.
So,
it's incredible, the power you hold.
It's a very specific joy that I don't like to let go of when I have it.
It's fair.
So, but yeah, I will definitely watch it. My number 2 this year was Succession Season 3.
Mm-hmm. That's funny, because I think both of us, when we talked about this beforehand, we both said these were both going to be our number 1s. I said Arcane was going to be my number 1.
Oh, yeah, I said it was likely going to be Succession. I just... Look, again, that's a show that I started watching for work. I'd never seen before. And I was like, okay. Like, I literally watched like 3 episodes in a row back to back on a plane. And then like, okay, this is pretty good. I started getting into it, and then I got really into it. And then this season, it might be the best written show on TV right now. Like, wow. I was thinking about it this morning, and a comp that I haven't really heard people talk about, but I actually think makes a lot of sense is... It's actually a lot like Game of Thrones. I mean, for those of you who don't know Succession, it's all about a family very much in the line of like the Murdochs who control this media empire, and it's all like the machinations between them and trying to take control and all the politics and their bullshit and their drama and trauma and everything else. And what reminds me of Game of Thrones, it's these really flawed characters that are backed by these incredible performances and this just super sharp dialogue that are dealing with like circumstances where the actual literal global stakes are pretty high. I mean, they help run like the largest media conglomerate in this fictionalized world, but their personal stakes are also so high, and they're really great at establishing how that is. And like it's it's genuinely mind-blowing how compelling this show is. It's like episode to episode, and the fact that they keep throwing in twists and turns that you just like you kind of half expect, but you're still surprised when they actually happen. And it's really sharply written, and it's very funny, very darkly funny. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Veep in terms of just like artistry with the word fuck. Like their insults are fucking brilliant all the way through. And like if you've ever just wanted to see a show where Brian Cox, legitimately one of my all-time favorite actors, is just constantly yelling at people to fuck off, it's entirely satisfying.
Okay. So yeah, I have a personal connection with the show.
Right.
I've been putting it off for a while. Yes. I think with how everyone's talking about season 3, I think this will probably be my holiday show. I'll start up.
It's honestly, it's worth it. It's so good. And knowing your personal connection, I don't think you'll think of it less.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think it's probably far enough removed. I hear the real life stories of these in my
that's
personal
true.
life.
Yeah,
that's why I stayed away from this. It's like, oh, I know these stories. And so I think it'll be nice to also just kind of see the stories I've been hearing for the past 10 years
played out
visually. Yeah.
Yeah. It's fucking brilliant. Mm-hmm. I just don't know what to say other than that. Other than just it's a show that I did not think I would like, and I have come to love and crave whenever the new episode is coming around. Like, I'm going to miss it a lot before it comes back around again. Mm-hmm. And it sucks because this is the first time I'm actually really going to have to wait a long time for it. Because I caught up at the end of season 2 within a few weeks before season 3 started. And now I'm going to have to wait like a full year or whatever. And it's going to suck.
Yeah. Well, I think that is a great entry point into my number 1.
Okay.
Which I think might also be your number 1. Because we both haven't talked about something very special of 2021.
Yeah, I think it might be the same one here.
Ted Lasso season 2.
Yep. Ted Lasso made it to my number 1 spot as well.
Same. If you want to talk about a show that like I am equally happy at the end, but also so upset that I now have to wait another week for more content. Yeah. I haven't felt this way since like being a kid watching Saturday night cartoons.
Yeah.
Like Cartoon Fridays, like having the anguish of waiting a whole week for more content.
It is something very, very special. And we've talked about it, I think, a little bit before during this season, but it is kind of like sex education for me as well, an empathy generating show, which it's funny that I like this, and that's honestly the reason why it eked out Succession for me. Because Succession is not an empathy generating show. I mean, it is, but also kind of not. Whereas this is like, you finish watching an episode and you just want to go find a way to be a nice person anywhere, any way you can. And I love that this season really addressed the idea of like how hard it is actually, what the emotional toll is to be that kind of upbeat, positive, inspiring person all the time. Like it does come with a cost.
Yeah.
And I feel like if that was my one maybe critique of the first season, is it all felt a little bit too easy. And this season's like, oh no, it's not easy at all.
Well, I think also like when season 1 came out, I think that's exactly what we needed.
Yeah, that's true.
We both started late. We
I came to it like about a year late almost, I think.
Yeah. I started about a week before season 2 premiered.
Okay.
And then immediately binged it all, and then was caught up by the time season 2 started.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing.
You were maybe like 2 weeks after.
I think so. Yeah. Somewhere around there. But yeah, again, I didn't really have to wait. I just kind of watched it all in one big go. Mm-hmm. But it is so sweet and so charming, and it's weird because it comes out like Friday at midnight. So I found myself in this bizarre routine of like waking up on Friday morning and going straight to my couch to watching Ted Lasso, which also then meant like I started every Friday morning just by like bawling my eyes out for both heartbreaking reasons and heartwarming reasons simultaneously.
Right.
Often, but it was just like, what? This is so weird, but like it's so emotionally impactful.
Yeah, and we've also talked about one episode in particular. Like I think they've made the best Christmas episode of any television show.
It's a great Christmas episode.
I'm gonna go once I'm back with my family. I'm gonna watch it again with them.
Thank you for reminding me. I should go do that again as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's.
I mean, it got me festive in August.
Yeah, that's true.
When it came out.
Oh my god, it really did. It's like, I think that episode for me had almost a similar kind of effect that Love Actually does whenever I watched it, but without any of the deeply problematic elements that come with watching Love Actually now.
Yes. Well, that's why you need to watch The Holiday, because it's
I know. I will.
All the positive feelings there.
I will put that into my rotation this year, because you and I were talking off air when we were pretending to be friends, not on this show.
Right.
And that I have just no compulsion to watch all the Christmas movies that I watch every year for some reason. I'm just like tired of all of them. So I need to find something different. So yeah, that's a good idea. Rewatch Ted Lasso Holiday and then watch The Holiday.
Yeah, there's my mom and I both, love television, but there's not a lot of overlap between our interests in media. And I got her to start watching Sex Ed, which was great. She loved it. She binged all. She's not a binge person. She'll watch like one episode a day.
Yeah, that makes sense.
She finished Sex Ed in like a week and a half.
Yeah.
I was so proud of her. But then Ted Lasso was the same. Like, she would call me Friday nights or Saturday mornings to be like, because after the Christmas episode specifically, she called me Saturday morning. She's like, "Do you want to go to London this Christmas?" And I'm like, "Why?" It's like, "It just looks so pretty in Ted Lasso." And I'm like, "Yeah, why not?"
Sure.
It is getting pushed, unfortunately, to next year.
That makes sense. With Omicron rearing its ugly head.
Yes.
But
yeah, like the show inspired a family trip to go to London for Christmas.
Look, I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah.
It's masterful, just in its writing and its characterization, in the storytelling, in its use of music, just the emotional beats that it hits. Like, it knows how to like just go straight for your soul with like the simplest gesture. And I have specifics in mind, but I won't say them because I would rather people experience them for themselves.
Yes.
But it's just like, fucking hell. And it's also so funny.
Yeah.
Like, genuinely funny. Like, laugh out loud funny.
Yeah. Because even like everyone is kind of the straight man to Jason Sudeikis.
A little bit. Yeah.
But because of that, like everyone plays it a little bit differently and they all get to shine.
Yeah.
Every single character.
And but Brett Goldstein in particular, who's also one of the writers on the show, is amazing.
Yeah.
Just absolutely amazing in his comedy delivery, in his sincerity, in his empathy,
and his eyebrows.
Those eyebrows. I mean, those things make Martin Scorsese's eyebrows jealous.
I was trying to describe him to a friend who hadn't seen Ted Lasso yet.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh, he's the British Eugene Levy."
Yeah.
British Dan Levy.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Okay."
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's someone who is not my type at all, that I find myself deeply attracted to just because of how he plays that character.
That was the couple's costume I saw this year. Was Keely and Roy.
Yeah, I could totally see that. Yeah. It's so good. I mean, you and I could go on and on about how good this show is. But I mean, it's like, look,
at least until season 3 starts.
Until season 3. Look, and again, lots of amazing TV this year, but I think there's a reason that for both of us that floated to the top, despite having a lot of really strong competition.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything else like it on TV right now.
I agree. I fully agree. I hope more stuff does. I mean, Sex Ed's probably the next closest thing.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
It shows just like being a good person has benefits.
Has benefits, yeah, exactly. But it's fantastic. Do you want to run through real quick some of your honorable mentions before we move on to film?
I do, because I think it's something very interesting for both of us. Neither of us have a Marvel series on here.
Yeah, they're pretty much all of my honorable mentions.
Same.
So I'll let you go through all of yours first, and I'll do all of mine.
Yeah, because I think mine are where my personality shines a little bit more.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All the Marvel shows, obviously, Falcon, Winter Soldier, WandaVision, Loki, What If, they're all so good. Hawkeye is still happening right now.
If I had a chance to see the finale, which I think is going to be fucking incredible, it probably would have made it into my top 5. It's my top Marvel show so far, and I haven't even seen all of it yet.
Yeah, it's so just nice.
It's so much better than it has any right to be. Like, I'm not the biggest Hawkeye fan. I think he's fine. I think Jeremy Renner is fine. I think he is so much better in this than he's been in any other part of the MCU. Plus, Haley Steinfeld, who you especially adore. I think she's amazing. I think she's so fucking good in this. Obviously, we're getting a little bit more of Florence Pugh now. Like, she's incredible. We're seeing without going into details, we're seeing a slight expansion into the rest of the Marvel universe as part of this show in a very exciting way. It's super cute and super Christmassy. Tony Dalton, who plays Jack Duquesne, is like
he's so much fun.
The perfect kind of smarmy.
Yeah.
Like, I want to hate him, and I cannot because he is undeniably charming.
He's the mustache twiddling villain.
Who's maybe not even a villain.
Stepfather.
Yes.
Who's like reading books about how to be a good stepfather.
There is such a cute moment. I want to say it was episode 3, maybe 3 or 4, where like, not a super spoiler here, but like Kate Bishop, Haley Steinfeld's character, is like really distrusted Jack all the way through. And there's this really cute moment where like she and Jack and the mom, who brilliantly played by Vera Farmiga, who's like one of the greatest actresses working right now, like they have this really cute moment where like they kind of bond together as a family, and you can see Kate start to like Jack. And it's just like the performances in that moment are so good, and it could be such a throwaway moment, but it's one of the most emotionally impactful in the whole thing. And it's just also fucking Linda Cardellini's in this.
She is.
In like 30 seconds an episode, every time you're on screen, you're like, I love you so much, Linda Cardellini.
Like, I know. I wish we got more of her. I hope we see a bit more of her in the finale.
I think there are pieces falling into place to give her a slightly larger role.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, but I agree with you. I mean, like, we went on a whole Hawkeye tangent there, but
we had to talk about it at some point.
I'm crazy excited for the finale.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot wait.
So I had all the Marvel shows. Mythic Quest season 2.
You said it's really good. Yeah.
I feel the way I feel about it, I think, is a very similar way to how you feel about Succession, where it's a show where all the characters are a little grimy and a little rough.
Oh, okay, sure, but you kind of like them nonetheless.
But it just lands the finale where I hope we don't get anything after this. I think it lands it so perfectly. I don't want any more.
Okay.
And then my weird honorable mention, just because like it's a show I started watching as a background show, and I'm like, wait, this is like weirdly happy and charming, and everyone's really nice in this. Young Rock.
Oh, okay. I can see that.
Yeah, the Rock, Dwayne the Man Johnson,
as everyone calls him. What?
Dwayne the Man Rock.
What?
He's only in it for like 3 minutes an episode, which I think is great. I think he needs to get out of the way because everyone else in the show is so nice. It follows 3 parallel storylines where it's him in middle school, him in high school, and him in college. Or maybe elementary school. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But each are very different phases of his life, and you can see how each one affects the other. You know, when he's a kid, it mostly revolves around his relationship with his dad, and how his dad is so work focused. Like, you know, it's that kind of partnership. When he's in high school, it's much more of like his public image of, you know, he wants to be the popular kid, but he's not because his family isn't well off. And then when he's in college, it's much more like sports focused. Like, this is his time to make his family proud. Like, he's going to be the athlete. And if you know anything about Dwayne the Man Johnson,
this new nickname you created for him, despite him having one of the most famous nicknames in the entire world. But by all means, Cameron, please continue.
He was a near professional football player until a horrible injury.
Yeah.
And so it follows that storyline. And it's just it's really well told.
Okay. I could see that. I feel like the persona around The Rock, especially now at this point, is maybe greater than the man himself. I find that like his charm is less effective as time goes on. I think as he takes himself more and more seriously.
I agree.
I find him a little bit less compelling and charming, and I feel like he's maybe kind of getting lost into his own mythos a little bit. So the idea of the show itself feels very
in how each episode
egocentric and like hagiographic, but
so how each episode is set up, which plays exactly into that problem.
Yeah,
is it's him running for 2024 president,
and that's exactly why I'm very skeptical.
And each episode is like a parable he's telling to a question that one of the reporters is asking him.
Yeah,
it's like, how have you ever dealt with loss? He's like, oh, let me tell you a story about my father and me.
Yeah,
and then it gets into the actual story.
I mean, I feel like that show is going to become a prequel to the real world recreation of Idiocracy, where a professional wrestler is the president of the United States.
Yeah. I don't know if it's going to get a season 2.
Okay.
I'd be fine if it didn't. I think the episodes that we have are great. But I'd be happy if it got more.
Okay, that's fair.
I don't know how popular it was.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I know of it, but I've never watched it.
Yeah,
so.
and that's fair.
Yeah.
What's your short
So
list?
some of my honorable mentions are going to be familiar titles that you've heard me plug before, but Masters of the Universe Revelation, which again, for me not being a He-Man fan at all, I found that show really like gorgeous and fun and compelling and incredible voice performances all throughout. It's got a fucking bumping Bear McCreary score, which is definitely a bonus on my part. But like, especially now that all of it's out on Netflix, all 10 parts, and they're like half hour each. I think it's brilliant. I think it's absolutely brilliant. And I think, if you love the Timm verse, it's worth watching because it does a lot of the same things we love about that universe. The Marvel stuff, I think WandaVision was close to being up there for me, but I didn't love the finale, which kind of bumped it out of the top 5. Same with Loki. I was like, I liked it, but I didn't love it. The other honorable mentions were like the 2 Star Wars shows this year. So Bad Batch.
Bad Batch was so good. I forgot to put that down. That's in my honorable mentions.
Yeah, it's a show that at first I was like, it feels a little bit like it's just cribbing pieces of Rebels and Clone Wars and The Mandalorian, and it's not something unique. And about it's like a quarter into the first season, it really found its groove, and it was a show that week to week just kept delivering great Star Wars and knowing what makes Star Wars so compelling, which is this incredible world, these incredible characters, this huge scale, the spectacle, but never losing track of the heart. It's a really heartfelt show, and I thought it was brilliant. I'm super, super excited for the next season. And then also Star Wars Visions.
It's beautiful.
Which I would say that overall, a lot of it's kind of forgettable, but there are like 3 or 4 in there. Like, I think of like Ronin, I'm trying to remember some of the other ones. Like The Ninth Jedi, I think was one of the other ones that was super good. But I remember you and I sat down to watch like, the first couple episodes together, and Ronin, the very first one in particular.
Oh, it's award winning. It's going to win everything.
It's gorgeous, and I am like famously not an anime person. Famously not an anime person. And I was watching this going like, this is what I want more from Star Wars. I want something that feels totally unique and beautiful and self-referential without ever feeling repetitive. And it's great. I don't think there's definitely some like missable, skippable ones in there, but certainly Ronin, The Ninth Jedi. I'm trying to blank on some of the other ones. Oh, The Village Bride, I remember being really good as well. Oh, sorry, it's not called Ronin. It's called The Duel. It's the very first episode.
Yeah,
but Ronin's
the name of the book.
The book, which I haven't read, which I do want to read at some point. But yeah, that's my last honorable mention. I thought it was just fantastic.
Yeah, loved Bad Batch. I famously am not a Star Wars fan.
Right, exactly.
But I have a friend, Kelsey, who loves Star Wars so much that like she has made me watch more of the other world. Like I finished Clone Wars because she pushed it so much.
Yeah.
I started Rebel. I didn't finish Rebels. Almost finished Rebels because she pushed it so much. And so having someone like that to watch Bad Batch with, where like every episode is, a world, a new world for her.
Yeah.
Was like that made it extra fun for me to watch.
I think it's
and also Alpha is just the best.
Yeah.
Anytime we get a Kiwi, it makes me happy.
Oh, it's so good. Like, look, Dave Filoni is a genius, and I think he has done more for Star Wars than anyone else outside of George Lucas, and he has in fact been able to make a lot of the less than stellar decisions that George Lucas has made over the years better through his storytelling. And anything he touches, especially in the Star Wars space, is fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
And worth checking out.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, there's that great joke that the internet loves to keep refreshing of the one throwaway line from George Lucas where Grievous and Anakin had never met. Filoni had to write that into 6 seasons. How they were mortal enemies, but they never actually met each other on the battlefield.
That's right. I know. It's ridiculous. But a lot of great stuff there. All right. Shall we move on to some films?
Yes.
Okay, so Cameron, let us have you start us off here. What is your number 5 movie of the year?
Yeah, you'll see a pretty like through line for my top 5. My number 5 is Encanto.
Okay.
You were not.
It's not on mine, so I'll let you go ahead and talk about it.
That's
so.
fair. I know you weren't as warm to it as I was.
I thought it was fine.
I loved it. It's like this weird, addicting soundtrack where when I first listened to it in the movie, I'm like, oh, this is okay. It's has weird payoffs for music, unexpected payoffs, and notes that I thought were going to happen never hit. It was weird. I had a weird emotion coming out of it.
I mean, it's really acknowledging it's Lin-Manuel Miranda doing the music, who his music style is odd. Like, his songs are unexpected and take weird turns, and they don't necessarily hit the beats you expect them to. And I think sometimes that really works, sometimes it doesn't. And I think his music is one that is, you gain more the more you listen to it. Like, I'm about ready to, do a drive back up to NorCal, and I'm going to re-listen to the Encanto soundtrack, and I bet I'm going to find I love it more the more I listen to it, the way I found I loved Hamilton more the more I listened to it.
Yes. And I've heard similar things to Tick Tick Boom, which he also did the music for.
Right, yeah.
I've heard 2 or 3 of the songs, and they're incredible. I mean, they're great songs.
Yeah.
But this one is specifically, like, because it also has the Colombian themes tied into it.
Yeah.
Every song is so unique. And I would say these don't feel like Lin-Manuel songs.
Yeah.
They don't have the same,
agree.
like, speed. I mean, there is definitely a lot of speed in them, especially the opening song. But, like, it's not the same, like, rhythmic patterns that he does for his other stuff.
The best comparison I can think of, and I know you haven't seen The Last Night in Soho yet.
I've not.
You haven't seen Last Night in Soho. But it reminds me of how I watched that movie and go, like, this doesn't feel like an Edgar Wright film, but I can see how his mastery of what he does makes this work. I feel like maybe that's how I would describe the Lin-Manuel songs in Encanto. Like, they don't feel like what you'd expect from him, but because he's so good at what he does, you can feel that genius and that energy and that creativity in there, even if it doesn't hit the same sort of pattern that you're used to from him.
Yeah. The movie, like, I don't know, it hit me in a very special way.
Yeah.
The main theme of the movie is just everyone needs therapy, and that's great.
Yeah, I mean, I did appreciate that part of it. Yes.
Yeah, and it talks about kind of generational problems of, how do you explain this to your grandparents?
Well, and generational trauma.
Yeah.
Even too.
Yeah, it's just such a beautiful, and obviously the visuals are
gorgeous,
unparalleled,
and great performances all the way through as well.
Yeah, who's the main actress? I never remember her name.
Stephanie Beatrice.
Thank you. Most famous from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Right. Yeah.
She plays such a different character, and because I only know her from Brooklyn Nine-Nine,
right,
hearing her like emote is so. I didn't until after my second viewing. I didn't believe it was her until I saw interviews of her talking about the movie.
Yeah, I think it's one that the more I watch it, the more I'm going to appreciate it.
I think so too.
I think I'm going to be perfectly honest, Cameron. You may have oversold it for me a little bit.
That is fair. I did because I'd seen it twice by the time I talked to you about it.
I think I'd known you'd seen it a third time because of Instagram when I went to go see it this last week.
Yeah.
I thought it was cute. I thought it was beautiful. Like, it looks gorgeous. The music's fun, but I found it forgettable at the time. Again, I think it's one. The more I revisit it, the more it's going to go up in my esteem. I just found it okay.
Yeah, I think of the Disney movies this year, Disney Pixar movies this year, I think this is the best of the 3.
It's not a Pixar movie.
I'm grouping them as Disney Pixar because I'm
sorry. There was an implied slash in there that I did not.
No, I know
see.
it's not Pixar.
Yeah.
Yes, because like if I'm not, I'm just comparing it to Raya. And so I'm doing between Raya, Luca, and Encanto. I think Encanto is the best of the 3.
I think it's fair. I did watch Luca recently. It was cute.
Luca's great. Yeah,
it
it's one of the best summer movies of just like.
Yeah.
I want to turn it on and imagine I'm by the beach, but not actually drive the 6 miles to the beach.
Yeah, it was, and like, I mean, for me, of course, I watched it. I was like, I will sniff out like a big rainbow bloodhound, anything that's semi-queer in it. And like, there were times when it felt like there was kind of a queer thing going on, and
they're just Italian, Chris.
They're just Italian, but I don't know. For me, that movie is like Call Me by Your Name, or I thought it was really.
Oh yeah, it is. It's Call Me by Your Name light.
No, specifically Namor, because like the whole aquatic thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah,
Vespers aren't gay, Chris.
I mean, pretty gay.
What is your number 5?
Okay. Here's where I have to make a call. Okay, my number 5 is Shang-Chi.
Okay. It did not make my list.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, I guess, a slight spoiler. It actually, we'll still talk about the other movie, but it actually edged out No Way Home for me.
Wow.
Yes. And we'll still talk at length about No Way Home. And
yeah.
like I said, we will put spoiler warnings right when we go into that. But I think for me, as broadly speaking as I can, there were some pieces of No Way Home that were absolute mind-blowing standouts. I think as a whole, Shang-Chi landed a little bit more for me, just in terms of like the pace, the storytelling, the action beats. It felt a little bit more original, just because we've had so many Spider-Man movies.
Mm-hmm.
And look, I will be fully transparent on this. Part of this is that I have an absolute huge crush on Simu Liu. I was just watching the assembled documentary about making that movie, and I was like, I love him. I'm just in love with him.
That's fair. I mean, it hurt me to not put it in my top 5.
Yeah,
So I've seen that movie, I think 4 times this year.
Okay,
now.
I've only seen it twice, but I really want to watch it again. I just think it's what I want to see from Marvel. It leans heavily into genre. It's bringing us new characters that are great. I think it has some of the best performances, particularly out of Tony Leung, that we've had out of the entire MCU. It looks gorgeous. It's unexpected in places. It has gorgeous fight choreography, multiple points along the way through, and it's worth repeating once again. Simu Liu is just so charming, so handsome.
Yeah, everyone is great. Awkwafina, I think this is the best we've ever had of Awkwafina.
Agreed. Yeah, I find that she can be grating under certain circumstances. I think she's really brilliant in this.
I agree.
Yes, it was ultimately my top Marvel movie, if only just slightly eking out No Way Home, and with Black Widow a little bit below that, and then
Internals is floating somewhere below that.
Very, very far below that. But anyways, that was my number 5, was Shang-Chi.
Okay, what is your number 4?
My number 4 was Cruella.
That's great. I'm happy. You're making the Disney list that I wanted to make.
Did it make your top 5?
It didn't.
Okay. Look, we've talked about this before. I'll try to be as brief on this as I possibly can. This is a movie that I expected to hate because I don't like villain origins. I, as I've talked about at length, despise Joker. I fucking hate Joker for a lot of reasons. But I don't think villain movies work or trying to make them sympathetic. I hate those kind of movies. I don't like prequels, generally speaking. And I really haven't liked most of the Disney live action remakes, with a few little exceptions here and there, primarily Cinderella, and I found Aladdin mostly pretty fun. But so I'm like, I expected to hate this movie, and I loved it. I was shocked, legitimately shocked by how much I enjoyed this movie. It is Emma Stone at easy A level charm and fun, which we have not seen from her in years. But my
Easy
God,
A was 2009.
Yeah. And having just recently rewatched the Spider-Man movies that she's in, I think she was playing in that same kind of space there. She's super fun in those movies.
Yeah.
But we haven't seen this from her in a long time. Until she's not, yeah. We haven't seen this from her in a long time. She's so charming. The whole supporting cast is absurdly charming. I mean, it's Emma Stone versus Emma Thompson.
Who's an amazing villain.
Who is, look, Emma Thompson in my mind can do no wrong. She is a goddess, and I think this is her having so much fun. It's just gorgeous all the way through. The costumes are fucking incredible. It's, all very like 60s, 70s, kind of that energy, that vibe, that sort of poppiness. Brilliant soundtrack. And it's worth noting, it's directed by Craig Gillespie, who did like Lars and the Real Girl and I, Tonya. He has this brilliant visual flair that really comes through. And like, it from the most cynical read of what that movie should have been, in contrast to the reality, it's fathoms apart. It is just a brilliant ride, and I have a hard time imagining anyone would watch that and not just have fun.
Yeah.
With it. Like, I watched it for the first time with my whole family. And like all 5 of us really enjoyed it. I don't know if there's ever a time we've all agreed, all 5 of us, on a movie as much as we did on this. It's amazing.
I need to rewatch it because I think I just had a bad theater experience.
Okay.
And that if you have a bad theater experience, it taints the whole movie.
It does. Yeah, it totally does.
Unless it's Rise of Skywalker, we just had both.
My God. the middle of the Venn diagram of bad movie and bad theater going experience, just dead fucking center right there.
But no, like it was the first movie I saw in theaters.
Okay, yeah.
Like it was a full theater.
Oh, okay.
And like that made me a little iffy. You know, people were on their phone because they don't remember theater etiquette.
Yeah.
It's a kids movie. I can't be upset if there's kids at a kids movie, but I will be.
Yes, I know you will.
Yeah, I need to rewatch it without those barriers to knock it back.
Yeah, because I watched it the first time. We ended up doing the premium thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad I did because literally like a week later, my sister-in-law was like, hey, like, what's your Disney Plus login? I really want to watch Cruella again. And I was just like, of course, here you go. I'm just glad you wanted to watch it. And then I did go see it in theaters with some friends. And yeah, I don't know what to say other than it's fucking great.
No, I agree.
It's so much fun. Like here's the thing. I should be embarrassed that it's my number 4 movie of the year, and I am the furthest thing from. Like, I will defend this movie until I die.
No, I love that.
So,
I'm happy for you.
Yeah. But what was your number 4?
My number 4 is, I think, your most anticipated for the season, West Side Story.
Oh, that is one that's on my list of things I have not yet seen that I really want to.
Yeah, so yeah. I won't go into a ton of detail.
Yeah.
And I haven't we haven't done the podcast since I've seen it, so I haven't talked about it yet.
Yeah.
It is beautiful.
Yeah.
The way I would describe it, because I don't know how else to say it, it is a movie made in 1980 that just became remastered.
Oh, okay.
Like it has, I don't know what it is about the cinematography and the filmmaking of the 80s that like it feels like that, where it's like the harsh shadows, and it's Spielberg. It's I would say it's the best Spielberg movie I've seen in 2 decades.
That's fair.
Yeah,
that's totally fair.
And I had not seen the original one before, just as you.
Wait, hang on. Does that include Tintin?
Yeah, I'll include Tintin.
Wow.
And I love Tintin.
I do too. I think Tintin's phenomenal.
Yeah. Well, I think also because it's live action Spielberg.
It's very different. Very different. Yeah.
Clearly better than BFG. Leagues better than Ready Player One.
Yeah. I mean, that's not hard.
Bridge of Spies, it knocks that down a few paces.
Yeah. I've heard it's great.
Yeah, and the music is incredible. The dancing, oh my God, the dancing. I knew the dancing numbers from the original movie.
Okay.
But the way these men and women just fly through the air.
Yeah.
Like it is still the like kind of cringy like dance fighting in the opening number. But the
Jets versus the Sharks, right?
Yes.
Yes.
But I would say like the biggest change they make, because I know like there's a lot of issues with the 1960s version, because it's made in the 1960s.
It's made in the 1960s, and there's almost like no like actors of color in it, despite it being like all about like it's mostly like the characters mostly Puerto Rican, right, in New York? Or...
Yeah, they're all Puerto Rican.
Yeah, and like there's like one Latino actor. I think it's like just Rita Moreno, and then a bunch of white people.
So there was an interview I saw with her where they like, even though she was, I think she's Colombian.
Yeah.
Even though she is, of Mexican of Latinx descent.
Yeah.
They still like made her wear darker makeup.
Oh my God!
To match the other white actors they were putting in makeup.
I'm not even a bit surprised.
Yeah, but this one is much better.
Yeah.
It has a much more diverse side. I wouldn't even consider them sharks in this movie. I don't see them as a gang in this version.
Okay.
It's very much the Jets messing with the Puerto Ricans.
Okay, that sounds fair.
That's probably the best change you could have made. It's they're just trying to live their lives, and then the Jets, these asshole white kids, are coming in and just ruining everything.
Well, that sounds pretty
accurate
and accurate. So yeah,
yeah. It's you have to kind of get past the Ansel Elgort part.
Yeah.
He's probably the worst part of the movie, like outside of just his real life problems.
Yeah.
But everyone else, Rachel Ziegler.
The lead.
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
she is gorgeous. She's beautiful. She's amazing in this movie. I'm excited for you to watch it, because I think you are gonna. I think this will make your top 5 after you see it.
Yeah, I want to try and find a time soon to go and see it in a theater, because I'm really really intrigued by that one.
Yeah, the second number where they're in the school dance, that one specifically, like these. I don't know how you can jump that high and just like do things in the air like that. They're flying.
I mean, you know how much I love a musical.
Oh, that is the theme of. I'm 2 for 2 musicals so far.
That's true. Actually, I'm 0. I almost like. I mean, it's not a musical, but like the music in Cruella is one of the biggest parts of that. I almost kind of count it, but
Okay, what is your number 3?
My number 3 is Dune.
That's my number 3.
Really? Oh fuck yeah! Look, it's brilliant.
You have the book on your shelf. It's right next to me at the moment.
I've been reading that book since
months.
September. And I'm determined to finish it. I keep reading other things in the middle of it. Like I'm simultaneously reading that as I'm reading like the DC Super Sons omnibus. Like I need a break sometimes from Dune. The further in the book I get, the better it gets. It's very slow to start with. But like I went in having read about a quarter of the book, which has maybe helped a little bit some of the context. But that movie, like, it's absolutely gorgeous. The performances are incredible. It's slow and methodical, but for me, Denis Villeneuve, that's what he does so well. I mean, that's how I felt about Blade Runner 2049 as well. It's just like, it's slow, it's taking its time, but there's this background building of tension. And because it's slow, you are allowed to kind of like soak in this world and these characters. And it's a great story, but as I was having a hard time getting to the book at certain points, just because the book is really slow, and the movie was very judicious in how it like picked the key things to focus on.
Would the book be better if you had those electric bagpipes playing in the background?
Yes,
absolutely.
I mean, also like
House Arrakis theme is
talk about
rocks.
Again, me being like the score hound that I am. Like Hans Zimmer's score, great fucking year for Hans Zimmer. I mean, not that he hasn't many bad years. To be fair, he's doing fine. But like the space bagpipes. It's like, what is this? Like it to me. This is the movie, I think maybe more so than anything else, that defined big screen epic.
Yes.
This year. Like, I'm so glad I saw it in a theater. It wasn't an IMAX yet. I really wish I'd seen it in IMAX. I just did not have time. But I did get to see it at a pretty big screen nonetheless. And I was blown away by it. I mean, what about it for you made it top 3?
Oh man, it's for very similar reasons. Like you're a much bigger sci-fi person than I am.
I'm a big sci-fi slut.
Yeah, and that's great. I will see bad sci-fi. I've watched.
Cameron, you'll see bad everything.
I'll watch bad
Full
everything.
stop.
That's true. I watched Valerian, and I wasn't super happy with it. But I feel like we haven't had a good. Obviously Avatar is. I'm a defender of James Cameron's Avatar.
The one.
The
two. It's you and James Cameron.
Yeah, so. It's the Camerons.
Touche.
To a problematic level.
Yes.
Where like seeing I this year I finally was on Ideal Remake with our friend Sam.
Yes.
Where we talked about Avatar. And seeing Dune. It opened my eyes of like, oh, this is what a good sci-fi epic is. And I texted you right after, and I texted Sam right after, and I'm like, "Oh, this is the Avatar that I wanted."
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's just so good. I'm so glad a part 2 got greenlit because it took like the Tuesday after it came out for them to finally do it. I would have been so mad if it didn't happen, because if there's the one caveat I always tell people is that it ends at an unexpected point because it's only half the story. But that being said, like what they do give us in that first movie, it's just breathtaking.
Yeah, and I'm weirdly jaded. I don't think I'm weirdly. I think I'm accurately jaded when I see part 1 in movies. Yeah. Like even when we got the Spider-Verse 2 trailer, and it tagged on the part 1 at the end, that ruined the trailer for me.
Yeah, I know.
But no, I think, and you gave me the warning ahead of time.
Yeah. It's the one thing I was telling people going in. Just like, be prepared, odd ending, but it's brilliant.
Yeah. I think the ending works. I think
it does mostly, yeah.
It's like a good book ending.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm happy with where everything is, and I'm excited for where they go.
Yeah, same. And I mean, talk about a stacked cast. And I think there's an argument. I think we talked about this when we reviewed it earlier in the podcast. That like, there's an argument to be made that an HBO miniseries or like an Apple TV miniseries may have been a better structure for the story. I think the problem is if you do that, you miss out on Denis Villeneuve and what he brings to it, which honestly, like, he makes this. I think without him, this does not work.
I agree.
I think with you, if you go to TV, you don't get this cast. I mean, it's like
You don't get this budget.
You don't get this budget, and the thing is, the money's on screen.
Yeah, and that I was going to say that is your big point, and that is what I've been telling everyone.
Yeah, the money is absolutely on screen, and the performances are fantastic. I mean, my God, Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya for like 5 minutes, but like, I mean, Oscar Isaac, Rebecca Ferguson,
Duncan Idaho.
Look, this is maybe the best Jason Momoa performance we've ever gotten. I love him
because he's just playing himself.
He's just playing Surfer Bro, and it works somehow in this
Space
movie.
Surfer Bro.
Yeah, and like fucking Josh Brolin's in there, like, Stellan Skarsgård.
God, Stellan Skarsgård.
Skarsgård.
Oh, poor man.
It's.
Thank God we only see him in shadow.
I know.
I don't know if I can handle seeing him in the light.
It's fucking grotesque, but yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it was a very competitive year when it got to the very top of the films, and that had to make it in there somewhere.
Yeah.
But it was like there were basically my top three were all kind of like shifting back and forth a little bit. I think there's a world where like I might say this is the best movie that I saw this year, if not necessarily my favorite. So
okay,
yeah,
So I made this as my favorite list. Clearly,
yeah, same. That's how I approach it as well. Yeah.
So I'm very curious where your number 2 and 1 are. Now.
Okay, so then my number 2 is The Harder They Fall.
Oh, you have recently told me about this one.
Yes, it's on Netflix, and it's the directorial debut of this filmmaker James Samuel, and it's a Western. And because I don't want to not do anyone justice, I have literally brought up the IMDb so I can give you the full cast list.
Yes,
here I go.
If you want to talk about a stacked cast.
Jonathan Majors, who the genre fans that usually listen to this show would know as He Who Remains, the very end of Loki. He was also in Lovecraft Country, which I'm not seeing, but like
he's great in that.
This movie for me, I was like, proved this is one of those actors that shows up and is a ready-made star.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's
the next Henry Golding.
Oh, but like can outact Henry Golding.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Henry Golding.
Yeah.
To be fair, the best actor, but like he's charismatic, he's charming, he carries so much emotion and power just in his face all the time.
He's a thespian.
He is like, and he is like, he's an actor.
Yeah.
But deserves to be referred to as such. So he's fucking amazing. So it's him, it's Zazie Beetz, it's Idris Elba, it's RJ Kyler Seiler, who was Billy in the Power Rangers reboot, a movie that you and I have plenty of time for.
Mm-hmm.
Regina King, Lakeith Stanfield. I think I've already mentioned Idris Elba, maybe.
We can say him again.
You can say his name as many times as he wants. Maybe we say it 3 times, he'll appear. I'll be very happy about that. This is one of the best ensemble casts I've ever seen, but also like such a confident directorial debut from someone. Like this movie has so much style. Like I'm trying to think of a good comp might be Tarantino, but I also feel like that's not doing it justice. It's its own thing. Like, and the music has this very kind of like reggae inspired soundtrack to it as well. So it has these like almost slightly anachronistic elements to it, in just terms of like some of the dialogue and some of the music, but it feels totally at place in this world, which is gorgeous and fun and effervescent and
oh, good word.
Yeah, right. I was blown away by this. I did watch it at home with my family. They were like, yeah, we kind of liked it. I loved it. I mean, it beat out almost everything else this year for me. It's brilliant. I mean, I hope it gets award recognition. I think it's absolutely deserving of it. I would be surprised if it won Best Picture, because they usually go for stuff that's more serious. And at the end of the day, like, it's a Western, so it's a genre film.
It's a Netflix film.
It's a Netflix film I'm not super keen on, but it's brilliant. I cannot recommend this enough. It's so much fun, but it has so much just palpable emotional energy at its core, and the performances are amazing. Like the actors in this are so good. They make it look so easy, but you can just see also. I have a hard time with actors who I can feel like they're trying way too hard. This is the reason why I really don't like Amy Adams in particular. I feel like she's always just trying to win an Oscar, and I can tell. Everyone here is making this look effortless, but you can also tell how much work they're doing, and it's it's fucking brilliant.
That's great. Yeah, I'll probably watch it once the holiday season's over.
Yeah.
So I've too many other movies to watch.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's kind of it's fun, but it's also kind of intense.
Yeah,
and it's pretty graphically violent at times, but also has some of like the it hits some of those classic Western action beats you expect. Like it's got the big shootout in the town and stuff like that, but it feels original and feels fresh in how it does it.
Yeah.
It's so good. I need to go watch it again. My God. What was your number 2 this year?
My number 2, so we can finally talk about it, is Spider-Man.
All right. Okay. So then,
and I will say I am very fresh off Spider-Man. I've watched it within 48 hours. I'm still processing.
Yes, I did go see it a second time yesterday, knowing we'd be talking about it. And so, worth noting, we're probably going to get into spoilers because this is really the only chance we're going to have to talk about this movie on the podcast. There are timestamps down the show notes, so if you want to jump ahead and avoid spoilers, you can. Let's try. Can we do real quickly, like Weekly Planet style, like a spoiler-free, just quick thing, like why it was so good for you before we get into full spoilers for people?
Yes. Oh man, how do I talk about this without spoilers? How about you go first?
Okay. Okay. So, and I'm what I will say about, and it did not make my top 5 ultimately. It was between Shang-Chi and this. I was literally debating right up until we recorded, and it ultimately went to Shang-Chi because, like I said, there are pieces of this movie that are incredible. Like,
yes.
I had high expectations going in. It exceeded them.
Same. Agreed.
It's, I would say, one of maybe the most emotionally impactful Spider-Man movie. I'm going to caveat this. I still think Into the Spider-Verse is the best Spider-Man movie ever made.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Still think that.
Mm-hmm.
So
they're on such different levels.
Yeah. So when I refer to the other Spider-Man movies, I'm referring to the 7 previous live-action movies, all of which I just rewatched.
Yes.
So I think this is probably the best.
I would agree.
Of all of them. I am stealing this from some colleagues, but I think this is maybe the most Spider-Man movie we've had ever, or at least certainly in a very long time.
Fully agree.
I think it really understands who he is as a character. I think it goes out of its way to what makes this interpretation of Spider-Man different than previous iterations we've seen before. I think it delivered so many things that I was hoping it would, and did it better than I was hoping for. I think it's exemplary even amongst the, like, again, Shang-Chi for me I personally preferred more than this. I think this is the best MCU movie to come out this year. I would say it's probably one of the best overall.
I think so too. With how I'm still processing it, it's probably top 3.
Yeah, it's truly exceptional.
This movie and West Side Story reminded me, because like we've talked about this a few times on the podcast. I'm specifically seeking out movies that make me happy.
Yeah.
And seeing West Side Story, it reminded me like, oh, even if they make me sad, that doesn't mean they're bad movies. Right? If I'm not walking out of the theater with a big smile on my face, like that doesn't mean they're bad.
Yeah.
And both this and West Side Story, I'm like, okay, these are incredible, even if I'm not, at a 10 of happiness walking out.
When I went into this, I had some concerns. In the same way that I had concerns going into Captain America Civil War in particular. When I was like, okay, so you're doing the Civil War story. You have to wrap out the remaining Winter Soldier Bucky story left over from the Winter Soldier. You're introducing Spider-Man. You're introducing Black Panther. I was not certain they were going to land that movie until I saw it, and they fucking landed it. I had the exact same concerns going into this. I was worried they were going to try and take on too much and not give it all its due.
Well, we've had, accurately with Spider-Man 3 and Amazing Spider-Man 2, anytime we have more than one villain, it gets problematic.
Right, and we already knew going into this that there were 5 villains that we'd seen in the trailer. So it's like, this is a lot. And having to pick up the thread of Peter's identity being revealed.
Mm-hmm.
So I was worried going in that it was going to be messy and they would have to handle too many things, and those fears were immediately cast aside because they hit it all.
Yeah.
They really landed it. So, okay, now at this point, should we get into full spoilers?
Yes.
Okay, so again, in the show notes, if you have not yet seen Spider-Man, and I say this with as much sincerity as I can possibly muster despite my generally dry tone, do not listen to us talk about this movie. See this movie. You are doing yourself a disservice if you have anyone tell you what happens rather than experiencing it for yourself.
Yes.
I cannot emphasize this enough. I would encourage you to just flat out stop listening to the show if you need to and go see it instead of hearing what we have to say. That being said, if you want to jump ahead, I will indicate when we stop spoilers in the notes.
Yeah. Anything we say isn't going to be nearly as good as Spider-Man.
No.
So,
No.
yeah, go watch that instead.
Okay. That all being said, they did it.
Oh my God. The moment I cried in this movie.
Same.
Not at the
same.
moment that I thought I was going to cry.
Okay, when did you cry versus when did you think you were going to cry?
I thought I was going to cry when Aunt May died because
Okay.
that killed me inside.
Oh.
That I was not expecting that
Fucking heartbreaking.
on such a level. Because, like, we didn't get the Uncle Ben. I'm like, thank God we don't have to watch Uncle Ben die. But even worse, watching Aunt May die,
Yeah.
that's the part I'm still processing. Like, I walked out of that movie numb because of that. But I didn't cry at it. The part I cried was when Zendaya falls off the ledge and Andrew Garfield jumps after her and saves her.
Same.
When he catches her and you see him holding her, I lost it.
Yeah.
I'm like listening around me and no one else is emoting as much as I am in this moment. And I'm like, am I the crazy one?
No.
I'm not the crazy one.
You are not. That was my moment of the film. And again, having recently revisited those movies, the Amazing Spider movies are actually quite a bit better than I remembered them being. The first one you could lose about the first hour, and the rest is pretty solid. And the second one, of course, like suffers from there's just too much shit going on. But at its core, those movies are great because Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone are both fantastic actors and have such great chemistry, and they're so good with those characters. And rewatch those movies made me really love Andrew Garfield Spider-Man that much more. So obviously, like, heavily expected that these guys were going to show up, that he and Tom McGregor be in this movie. Like, and it had been spoiled. Like, it was literally, I think I meant
it was everyone but Kevin Feige and Andrew Garfield had said that they're going to be in the movie.
There was even a meme, because I follow several just like gay memes on Instagram. There was a meme a few months ago, and the joke was like, the caption was, I don't have a type, and then it blows like my boyfriends, and it was literally my ex-boyfriends, but it was the shot of the three Spider-Men together, right? So it's like, this had been spoiled such a long time ago, but even then I wasn't certain they were going to do it until they did it.
Yeah.
And for me,
and I was still shocked when I saw it.
Still shocked. And like Andrew Garfield, I think both he and Tobey Maguire actually got to have fun making these, because the franchise isn't resting their shoulders in a way that it was in those previous films. And I feel like maybe that lack of pressure helped them just be themselves. I really felt their energy in there, and their fun. But like, my God, when Zendaya falls off and Tom Holland's reaching out for her, but then gets picked up and swooped away by the Green Goblin, and then like we all kind of hoped maybe this would happen, and then they did it. And when he catches her and they land, like, Andrew Garfield is doing so much emotionally in that moment. Like, you can feel how like heartbreaking and bittersweet that moment is. Like, he got to do the thing he failed at once before, but knowing that it was for someone else is both a triumph, but also just deepens his own pain and heartbreak at the same time. And I was like, if you ever needed proof that Andrew Garfield is an amazing actor, which there's plenty of places to go to find that evidence, but in that singular moment, it was there.
Yeah, like I said, I cried.
I did too. But both times I saw it, I cried. And I teared up in that moment. It's just, there's so much happening there, and he plays it all, and it's genuinely beautiful and really, really touching when it happens.
And both of the previous Spider-Man get that moment, because I think the other big emotional beat for me was when Tom is about to kill Green Goblin, is about to kill William Dafoe, and you see the uncomfortable face of Tobey Maguire struggling to hold up. He grabs the glider that the Green Goblin uses, and he's gonna stab him again, just like in the first Spider-Man.
Right. The symmetry of that.
Yes.
He literally saves Norman the way he couldn't the first time around.
Mm-hmm. And he was gonna die the same way, and then Tobey has to hold up the glider against Tom. And that was like, I feel like that was Tobey's moment. Yeah. Like, he's regretted this death his whole life, and he now gets to stop it.
Because he even has a comment earlier when they're trying to like science this shit and figure out how to like save all the villains, which was a whole plot thread I was not expecting. Like, they alluded to it in that second trailer, that like Peter is stopping Doctor Strange from sending them home because they're gonna die. But I was not expecting that like half the second act leading to the third act was all going to be about him literally trying to save them.
Yeah.
And I think that's for me the piece that really distinguishes this Spider-Man from the other versions who have a similar sort of like heartfelt intent, but something about Tom Holland, like he really wears his heart on his sleeve the way the other two never did. And for me, this is a Tom Holland career best. He is so good in this. He is legitimately amazing. He is doing so much all the time.
Well, I think what helps with that especially is he's not wearing the hood for most of this movie.
Yeah.
So even when it's just Spider-Man, when it's usually just kind of the CGI or the character in the mask, we get to see him emote still.
Yeah.
It's not just in the voice or in kind of the eyes moving.
Yeah. So many great performances, though. I mean, Tom Holland, we mentioned Andrew Garfield, obviously, but even Willem Dafoe is
oh my God,
so good in this.
You can see, like, he was great in the original Spider-Man, but he's taken that character to a whole nother level.
Yeah. It's funny because in some ways, this version of the character is almost more heightened, but you feel like the portrayal and the direction is more grounded.
Yeah.
And, you can kind of see when he's Norman, quote unquote, and when he's Goblin.
And you can hear it.
And you can hear it, but there's also so much subtlety in his performance. Like they're shifting back and forth a little bit. It's incredible. And I mean, of course, and Marissa Tomei as well as Aunt May, like her death scene, like the fact that they found a way to like literally squeeze in with great power comes great responsibility once again, and
the
not
cursed phrase. At this point.
Exactly, and not have it feel shoehorned in or
it's
trite.
The pearl necklace of Spider-Man.
It really is. It really, really is. But it's like, because she seems fine, and it's the fact that she seems fine and then isn't that you're just like, oh fuck, like they really went there. And again, like her performance, Tom Holland's performance in that, it's oh my God. I mean, I know what you mean about like having to process it. It's the reason I went to go back and see it again yesterday.
And then the ending. We haven't even talked about the ending.
Right, which, sets things up in a very bizarre direction. I mean, the whole universe has forgotten who Peter Parker is. So all of the Avengers, all of his friends, MJ, Ned, Happy. Like, so it ends with him, like, sad sack Spider-Man again, like the tiny, crappy little apartment in New York. But also, he's clearly moved away from the Stark check. Like, he's created his own costume. It's a comic-accurate costume. He's zipping around New York. Like, it's weird that this movie is simultaneously the closure of one story and also kind of the origin of the classic Spider-Man that we know.
Yeah, and they did it perfectly.
Yeah. And again, like, the cynical part of me was worried going into this that this was just going to be an excuse for Sony to kind of do whatever they wanted with Spider-Man. And just to some degree, those fears are still there a little bit. Kevin Feige has subsequently confirmed that they are developing a fourth Spider-Man movie because he doesn't want, as he put it, people to have, like, that separation anxiety. But there was a little bit of that worry of like, this is a way to isolate Peter from the rest of that universe. So it doesn't matter if he's not crossing over with everyone, which I'm a little bit skeptical about that piece in particular. I really like his dynamic with everybody else. But if this means that we get to go back towards a more classic Spider-Man formula, I'm really intrigued to see what that looks like, because this trilogy has really been built on being almost anti-Spider-Man movies in some ways.
Yeah, even I made the point to you before I saw the movie, which I think is very funny now in hindsight, of this Tom Holland is the least Spider-Man we've had because he doesn't fit the tropes. Mainly, he's not a poor Spider-Man.
Right, yeah. It's fun because you mentioned that, and I didn't say anything.
Hours before watching it, I mentioned that.
Yeah, I had seen it already, and you had not, and I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything, Cameron.
No, I know, and I'm very proud of you.
Cameron, who literally told me that he refused to talk to me for like the 72 hours between...
Yeah, so you saw it on Monday.
Yes, I was very fortunate.
Yes.
I was
very happy for you.
I was able to go to a press screening on Monday for work, which...
And you texted me when you got out.
Yes, all I sent you was just a mind-blown emoji.
And a gif of William Dafoe.
Well, when you told me that you wouldn't talk to me, then I sent you a gif of Willem Dafoe.
Yes, so for 72 hours, you were dead to me.
I know.
And the joke on the podcast is we're not friends outside of the podcast. We were not friends for 72 hours.
Well, that's not true. You were not my friend for 72 hours. I was fine. Yes, I was very, very fortunate to be able to see it early. And luckily, like, we were able to talk about it at length for work because we recorded a podcast on it like immediately. But it was challenging to have a very limited group of people to talk to about the film.
You were a knowledge holder.
Yeah,
that's what scared me.
I mean, so I think the timing of the screening was either concurrent with the premiere or maybe even slightly before the premiere. I forget exactly how the
I
time
think
it
you were like
worked
an
out.
hour before.
Yeah. But like by 7 p.m. on Monday, I had seen the movie, which was nuts. And I was just like, holy fuck. Like, and that's why I had to go see it a second time. As like I needed, and I will say this: if I had seen it just once, it probably would have been higher up my list. It was on a second viewing rather than, okay, you know what? All the Spider-Man stuff is fucking brilliant and better than I thought it would be. Like I expected those moments to happen. I did not expect it to be this good. It's that much better. On a second viewing, a lot of the first and second act is a little bit slow for me. I'll be perfectly honest. I fell asleep a little bit on the second viewing and some parts in the middle.
I understand why they're there, but I think you can cut Electro and the Lizard.
Yeah. I think there's a lot.
I think Sandman is great because he kind of plays both sides. Obviously Doc Ock you need there. Obviously Green Goblin you need there.
There's a lot happening, and I think Marvel can sometimes be really good about, and I think Disney's in general sometimes really good about, like, the ending of the movie is so good that you're kind of willing to forgive the rest of it being a little bit slow. I think of Rogue One as being a great example. Like Rogue One for me makes that film, the ending. That's why I went down a little bit on a second viewing once I'd fully processed it. I was like, actually, a lot of the rest of this is a little bit slow, and good, but not as pacey and fun and frenetic for me as, like I said, Shang-Chi, which ultimately was why it eked out No Way Home. But
There was one thing from the trailers that made me very nervous for the movies, and it was the trailers gave every quippy line that Doctor Strange has. They showed us those. And I was worried that, like, what is this Doctor Strange we're going to get? Once you see him in the movie, he's normal Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
You know, he's just as kind of jaded. He has his snark. He has his edge to him. But he's not just quips. Like, they make him seem in the trailer. Where he's in his fluffy coat and holding his cocoa, being like, Scooby-Doo this shit, guys.
Yeah. And again, he's great in this too. And I love Doctor Strange. That first movie is one of my favorite MCU movies.
When you talk about, like, this is the most Spider-Man movie, I think their first interaction is maybe one of the funniest moments I've had with any Spider-Man, where, you know, Doctor Strange is like, you know, you got your rejection letter from college and you contacted the board and, you know, they still said no. It's like, what? It's like, you didn't contact the board and explain your situation? I didn't know I was allowed to do that.
Yeah.
You decided to change the course of the universe before calling someone? And then immediately just teleported him out of the sanctum.
Yeah, done with you. Yeah. It's... This movie is great.
Yeah.
It is really, really fucking incredible.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm nervous to see it again, just because, like, I'm afraid to go through that emotional process again.
It's a lot. I mean, there's, especially towards the end there's a lot to go through, and I think it's a credit to the really fantastic filmmaking here, and I think filmmaking is the best way to put it, because it hits multiple levels. Like, there's great direction here, there's great writing. Obviously, Kevin Feige's a fantastic producer. Amy Pascal clearly didn't get in his way very much. But, like, the fact that the most emotionally heartbreaking moment of the whole thing, when Aunt May dies, the next scene is the introduction of Andrew, and that is mostly played really fun. You know, it's like
when he just puts his hand up.
He just puts his hand up, and, like, you know, and MJ is still skeptical, like literally throwing bread at him. Like, it's so goofy, but, like, you know, God, I just have a hard time when people are so dismissive of Marvel, because very few filmmakers, studios, production companies, whatever you want to call it, very few can pull off those huge swings from, like, genuine emotional impact to, like, fun, lighthearted banter, and have it all still feel of a tone and of a piece. So few can pull that off, and this movie has some of the biggest swings across the MCU in terms of that, and it hits them all.
Yeah, no pun intended.
No pun intended. But yeah, man, I mean, Andrew Garfield stole a movie for me.
Yeah, same.
Stole the movie.
I'm so happy he did.
I was
too.
not expecting. So
when he cracks Toby's back, that was awesome.
Oh my god! So, yeah, the references. Okay,
the through line of Toby's back problems.
The references they pull. The fact that they got Willem Dafoe to do the "I'm something of a scientist myself" line and have it land.
An audible cheer from my audience.
They literally put a meme into the movie, and it fucking worked.
Yeah.
Also, we have not even mentioned this yet. Matt Murdock.
Oh my god, yeah. Oh my god,
So much happens in this movie that you could forget that Matt Murdock is introduced in a brilliant scene that, again, we were talking about this before we recorded. I did not think would happen until it happened.
Agreed.
Yeah, and so again, like
even after the spoilers came out and like the
Right.
leaks came out, I'm like, no, this is tampered.
Well, and also if people have been watching Hawkeye, spoiler for Hawkeye, but like the Kingpin, you've seen Hawkeye now, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. We talked about this already.
Okay, the Kingpin is introduced at the end of episode 5 of Hawkeye, which came out, we'll call it a day basically before the movie premiered. I saw that in reverse.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that was happening. Now, it was clearly heading towards Kingpin in that show. The speculation was there, but like that data point did not yet exist for me when I saw the movie. So like when they introduced him, I was like, oh fuck, they did it. They brought Charlie Cox back, and he's great.
Yeah.
And he catches a fucking brick.
Catches a brick because he's a good lawyer.
His reason is I'm a really good lawyer. Like, I'm getting myself worked up just talking about it. It's.
We may watch it again tonight. It's still in the air.
I don't know if I need to see it a third time in
a week. Yeah.
But it is phenomenal. I mean, I don't know why we keep telling you it's phenomenal. Because my God, again, I hope you've seen it. Because if you listen to us talk about it instead of seeing it, you've ruined a great movie for yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I still think the movie it would be incredible if you know what happens. But
yeah,
it's not. You need the shock factor.
Anything else to say on Spider-Man before we move on to our number ones? Right,
number ones. Yeah. I think that covers everything that I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
Yeah, it's so good. I drove back, I got out of the theater and just sat in silence for like a good hour.
Yeah.
And I still feel like I'm sitting in silence.
It's a lot. It's a lot, but it's fantastic. All right, Cameron, what is your number one movie this year?
Yes, I had a hard time picking a number one movie. But through what I've seen the most this year, what I've gone back to for comfort many times this year, what I've listened to the most this year, because to finish my list of musical top fives, my number one is In the Heights.
Oh, fair. I have yet to see In the Heights.
It's I watched it maybe 3 times when it first popped up on HBO Max.
Yeah.
I've been listening to the soundtrack, 2 to 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Every week since it came out. And then when I've been flying back and forth, I'll put on the first act again, just because it's like every character is so charming.
Yeah.
Every song is so, it's very Lin-Manuel Miranda. Obviously, he wrote these songs pre-Hamilton.
Right.
So it is, you see where Hamilton came from with these songs. Yeah, it's such a beautiful movie. And I think I could probably watch it every week and be happy.
That's fantastic. Like I love musical. I love especially something that's like really heartwarming. So I really need to get on this and see this at some point. It probably would have made it somewhere in my top 10 at least if I'd seen it yet.
I think it would.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have nothing else to say about it. It's just such a lovely,
that's so nice.
lovely film.
Well, I think again, like the fact that it's your top film speaks a lot about how much you like it. So
yeah, it was a tough list to make. We'll talk about that in a second. But first, please share your number one. I'm very curious to hear this.
So again, it was hard for me. I think my top 3 were kind of battling it out. I do not think my top film is the best film that came out this year.
Oh, same. Yeah. I don't think In the Heights is the best film.
I think for me, of all the things I saw, it might be The Harder They Fall. It's either The Harder They Fall or Dune. It's like the best film that I saw this year. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff I did not see this year.
Yes.
But for me,
that's the other Netflix one, right?
What?
The Harder They Fall.
The other Netflix one?
Is that the one with Leo?
No, that's Look Up, which I have not seen yet. No.
The whole time we've been talking about this movie, I thought you were talking about Look Up.
Well, I kept talking about it being a Western.
What?
The Harder They Fall is the Western.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I am all mixed up now.
Okay. That was my number 2 film.
Yes.
I think that is a better film than what my top film is. But for me, this was my most anticipated movie of several years.
Oh my God, duh. How did I not think of this?
And it had to ultimately go in my top spot because
because you're you.
Well, I'm me, but like I also feel like I have to like caveat the cliche of this. So
it is also a good movie.
Yeah. So for those of you who have not yet figured it out, my top film of the year was in fact No Time to Die. And I will say this. That was not always a guarantee, but it was going to be my top film of the year. And again, it was a debate for me up to the very end, but that movie was so anticipated for me, and I was so concerned about it in a lot of ways, just because I'd been so disappointed by Spectre. And knowing that it was going to be the finale of Craig's arc, and knowing it was going to be almost 3 hours long, and so many things had me worried about it going in, and the fact that I loved it as much as I did, I think just ultimately speaks to just how good of a film it ultimately ended up being. Like, it has 2 of my all-time favorite set pieces across all of Bond. Like, not necessarily my absolute favorites, but like in the high-end pantheon of set pieces, between the DB5 chase in the beginning and then the whole Cuba sequence, which I think is
slept through.
the one you slept through, which is probably the best sequence of the whole movie. Anna de Armas just being fucking amazing.
Yeah.
But like, you know, it took the mistakes of Spectre and made up for them, which is not an easy thing to do necessarily. It had, I think, the right closure for Craig's character. It ended the right way. It's not what I expected. It's not necessarily how I would have like thought to have done it, but I think it was the right call. It really makes those 5 films feel of a singular piece. You know, the fact that they brought one Hans Zimmer score, and this is fantastic. Again, I was worried because like I was worried it's gonna be too Zimmery, and there are points when the score feels a little bit like The Dark Knight, but there's like, I think his version of like the upbeat action Bond theme is one of the best. The fact that he brought back some theme pieces from On Her Majesty's Service, which is one of my all-time favorite Bond films, I think the best Bond score ever made. Like, it just hit so many things that I wanted. It gave me things that I didn't know that I wanted, that I loved. And it could have been awful. Mm-hmm. And the fact that it was so good and that I have loved it that much more every time. I've seen it 3 times. It's the only film this year that I've seen 3 times.
Spent 9 hours of this year.
Yeah.
Watching this movie.
Honestly, I should be spending
that's not that much.
Be spending closer to 12 to 15 this year watching this.
I mean, to be fair, you've only had 2 months to watch it.
Yeah, that's true. I've watched it thrice in that time. You know, it's not for everyone. That's fine. But for me, for how much that character, that franchise in particular, Craig's Bond has meant to me. Like, I literally like grew up with those movies. Casino Royale came out when I was 17. I was in high school. Mm-hmm. And like that it gave me so much that I loved just meant a lot. And I really, really fucking love that movie. And I'm so excited by the fact that I do. And like, that's ultimately, I was like, you know, it has to be my top film because it's the movie that had the most impact on me. Yeah. Ultimately this year. You know, and there are other years when the James Bond film would not have been my top movie. So.
Yes. I also enjoyed the movie. I really, really liked the movie. I honestly wish I had the same background knowledge that you and Shane had going in. Yeah. So I could enjoy it more. Right. Like the little things you guys caught on. Mm-hmm. Like, and I could, you know, the enjoyment I had was watching you 2 react to the movie. Because that was honestly more fun than watching the movie. Yeah. Was, you know, seeing 2 little kids squirming next to me. Anytime a car popped up and just like, oh my God, it's the car. Yeah. Yeah.
It's the V8 Vantage from the Living Daylights. It looks so good.
It's the thing. I know that gun. Yeah. That was incredibly exciting for me to watch. That you know, that made a good part of my year was finally seeing that play out for the both of you.
God, it was fucking amazing. I love it. I love it. It had to be.
Of course,
it had to be number 1. Okay, we have gone on so long. Let's do this real quick. Yes. Other honorable mentions, and then just real quick stuff we're excited for next year. So honorable mention films for this year for you, Cameron.
I can quick. I only have 2. Okay. Free Guy. So much better than I expected it to be.
Still haven't seen it.
Oh my God. I think it's coming to Disney Plus very soon. I think so. Within the next week or 2.
I think so, yeah.
It's so much fun. It's so much better than the trailers make it look. Right. And the trailers are good. Yeah. It's great. And my other choice is a very out of left field movie. I didn't think I was going to enjoy it. Almost made my top 5. Mm-hmm. It's a Japanese movie called Words Bubble Up Like Soda Pop.
Oh, it's a cool title.
And it's this cute like slice of life movie around these 2 kids that both kind of have their own insecurities, who end up falling for each other. One kid is just very scared of like public appearances and just doesn't like being around people. Very introverted, and so the way he communicates is basically writes haikus about everything he experiences in the day. And then the other girl is kind of this very outgoing, very public figure, but she has she has big body positivity problem. No, how do I put that better? She doesn't like the way she looks.
Sure.
And so she's trying to kind of she wears a mask to cover her braces. She kind of wears an oversized hoodie to cover her body, and it's the two of them kind of combating these problems they have with themselves while being around each other.
Yeah,
and it's just really sweet. It's really
heartwarming.
Sounds nice.
It's
the animation on it. It's animated.
I just assumed.
Yeah, the color palette is so bright, and it's so different from anything I've seen. It's just a really nice pick you up movie.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds cute.
Yeah.
Nice.
What is your short list? Or your
so honorable mentions. I mean, yeah, we talked. I like about No Way Home. So that's already on there. Mitchell's vs. the Machines was.
I meant it. I still have not seen it.
It's really cute. It's a lot better than I thought it was. It's Lord and Miller who always do such a great job. It's really cute, very energetic, very original, super fun. Barb and Star go to Vista Del Mar, which I expected to absolutely hate, and I was surprised by how much fun I had with it. It is so dumb, but it works.
I kept seeing the cover art for it and being like, I'm never going to watch this movie.
Yeah,
but everyone who's seen it said it's so fun.
Adamantly refusing to watch it until my friend Josh, like, no, we got to watch this. And I'm at this point tired of my life of Josh always being right. And so I'm like, okay, fine, let's watch it. And I did really enjoy it. Gunpowder Milkshake, which...
Oh, I'm glad that's good.
It's it didn't really get traction for me until like the third act, but I really, really enjoyed the third act. There's some fun stuff prior to that. It's kind of a mess, but I still liked it. It's a sticky one. It's one that I keep thinking about. So I think it's worth checking out. It's not necessarily brilliant, but I liked a lot about it. Plus Karen Gillan's always fantastic.
Of course.
It's a ridiculous cast. Great cast.
Yeah.
And the last one, it says at the end of the day, like a Batman cartoon podcast. I really enjoyed both part 1 and 2 of the Long Halloween adaptations.
Good. I still have not finished those.
Yeah. Part 1 for maybe a little bit more than part 2. It does make some changes to the comic, but I think they mostly work. I think the animation style it's kind of like we were talking about with Invincible. Like, it's a little bit simplistic, but I think it mostly works. And again, that's probably my second favorite comic of all time. That's like a full 5. It's for me the best Batman comic ever written. It's a full 5-star comic. I think this is of the adaptation they could have done, I think this does it justice for the most part.
Good.
So I think it's well worth watching both parts. And they both are on HBO Max now at this point.
Yeah. I want to throw out, because you brought up Mitchell and the Machine, I almost watched it, but I chose to watch another movie last night called Ron Gone Wrong.
How was that?
So much better than I thought it was going to be.
Okay, yeah. It's on Disney Plus now, right?
Yeah, that's why I watched it. It just came out on Disney Plus. It is it's a kids movie, which is, the forefront of it. But the messages in it, it's a parallel of kids having phones. Of like being both more open to the world, but also more shut off from the world.
Yeah. Because that's the one where he has it's an old phone, so it's no longer connected to the network or whatever, right?
He has a defective robot.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah, Ron.
Yeah.
And it's very cute. I think it has great messages, especially for people, with kids to show, but also, us jaded old folk who didn't grow up with iPhones. We're like given a pat on our back for our jaded messages.
Oh, back when we had to like text out. I don't even know what that's. It's not. I don't even know what it's called now.
on the number pad.
The number pad, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Is it T9? T9 text?
That sounds right.
Yeah. Oh, man, back in the day.
No, I think that's the calculator. The T89 is the.
But I think T. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's really been 20 years. So I don't remember.
But yeah, it's a really sweet movie. All the characters are really sweet. I think it's worth. If your family needs something to watch over the holidays and you don't want to watch something festive, it's a nice family movie.
Ron Gone Wrong.
Ron Gone Wrong. Nice. It is not Metabots like I thought it was going to be.
Okay. All right. And then real quick, what's some stuff coming up next year, either TV or film, that you're really excited about?
Yes. Obviously, all Marvel, Star Wars. They have a pretty amazing slate for 2022.
Yeah. So just real quick, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, Thor, Love and Thunder, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse Part 1, She-Hulk, Miss Marvel, and Moon Knight plus Kenobi. So like, great
big
list.
slate. And Bad Batch season 2.
That too, yes. Oh my god.
But outside of that, the things that we've are confirmed so far for movies. Turning Red looks so cute.
It looks really cute.
The next Pixar movie.
Yeah.
It's a very bizarre premise.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, just a big parallel for, puberty, obviously.
Yeah, I have it on my list as well.
The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
Okay, I have that as well. This is a movie where Nicolas Cage is basically playing a version of himself that is paid to go meet like a Colombian drug lord.
A super fan.
Who's also a super fan. And I've heard about this movie for years, and it's finally out, and the trailer looks just as bananas as I hoped it would.
I honestly thought the movie was already out.
Yeah.
Until the trailer came out. I'm like, oh man, we can't watch it yet. I want to watch it.
I mean, it looks like super meta self-aware Nick Cage, so it's either going to be terrible or great. I'm hoping for the latter.
Yes. Lightyear. Very curious how that's going to be.
Yeah, same.
And then I just found out this is coming out. There's a Whitney Houston biopic coming out at the end of next year called I Want to Dance with Somebody.
Oh, that sounds good.
Whitney Houston has had a very weird parallel to my life. Her I Want to Dance with Somebody came out the day before I was born.
Okay.
And my first time coming out to LA is when she died.
Interesting. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I was supposed to go to the Grammys. I did go to the Grammys. My mom and I got tickets.
Yeah.
And she was supposed to be the headliner.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, she passed away the day before the award ceremony.
I forgot that was the day before, wasn't it? My God, yeah. Oh, shit.
Yeah. But yeah, love her music. Very excited for that.
Yeah.
Quick series, Lord of the Rings series.
Mm-hmm.
Very curious what that's going to be.
Yeah. I'm sure it's going to have a much bigger budget than Wheel of Time.
Yep. This one's coming out in January, and I forgot it's a series, not a movie. Pam and Tommy.
Oh, that's a series. That's
yeah,
right.
On Hulu, going to follow the tragedy of the Pamela Anderson and Tommy. What's his last name?
Tommy Lee.
Tommy Lee. Thank you. Their sex tape getting leaked.
Yeah, with Lily Evans and Sebastian Stan,
who look incredible.
They do, and I think that's also Craig Gillespie, if I recall.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, because obviously Sebastian Stan was in I, Tonya.
Yeah. He's good. He's very good.
Yeah, that looks hilarious. And then a weird one I just saw a trailer for coming to HBO is called Winning Time: The Rise of the Lakers Dynasty.
Oh, that's right. It's because it's not a docuseries. It's fictional, right? It's a narrative.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. It feels like a midpoint from what I understand about Succession. It feels like a midpoint between Succession and Semi-Pro. The Will Ferrell.
Oh my God. Only you, Cameron, would come up with that data point. But yeah, I think you're right. So, hey, we don't give a fuck about sports.
No.
And it still got you excited. So
yeah, I mean, I am loosely excited for basketball. I just can't ever show it because I'm a nerd.
One of our closest friends is like the biggest basketball fan we know. How do you not get a chance to share this ever?
Because I don't keep up with it.
Oh, okay. I was like, I don't.
I enjoy the sport.
It's weird. Okay.
What is on your most anticipated?
Yeah, so I mean, kind of the same thing. The slate. I actually think that some of the DC movies next year, I am kind of excited about. I'm intrigued by Black Adam, if not necessarily for Black Adam himself, but for the inclusion of the JSA.
Yes,
so that I'm excited about. I mean, in particular, my God, Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate, fucking brilliant. I'm interested in The Flash just because it looks weird and it could be interesting, but I feel like now it's got very big shoes to fill.
I'm just so nervous.
It's probably not gonna be very good.
I'm not excited.
Yeah, it's fucking good. And like as of right now, like for me, like the movie, like my top, I must see this movie next year is still The Batman. Like I'm very skeptical about that in a lot of ways, but at the end of the day, it's a new Batman movie. And it has a Michael Giacchino Batman score.
That is true. That is the two Venn diagrams of Chris coming together.
Like, I'm sorry, shy of Giacchino scoring a James Bond movie, like that's basically the top of the list for me. So like, I am very excited about that movie at the end of the day. But outside of the things we normally talk about, the stuff I'm excited for, we already talked about the Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, which I had on there. Operation Fortune, Ruse de Guerre. I sent you the trailer recently. It's the new Guy Ritchie movie.
Oh, no, I sent you the trailer for that.
No, I sent it to you. No, you sent the trailer for Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is the new Michelle Yeoh movie, which is also on my list because that looks bizarre and fun. But no, Operation Fortune, Ruse de Guerre is the new Guy Ritchie movie. Yes, with Jason Statham as an assassin, no surprise there. But then Josh Hartnett playing an actor, kind of in a similar story a little bit to The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Like being brought in because the criminal's a super fan. The trailer just looks super fun and snappy, and I still haven't seen The Gentleman, but I know you spoke very highly of it.
It's so good.
I gotta watch that at some point. So that's on my list. I wasn't expecting this to be on my list, but The Lost City, the trailer just came out.
It's a very similar. All the movies of next year kind of have a very similar
like,
world to them.
There's a meta thing going on, which I like. But yeah, it's Sandra Bullock as a romance author. I guess it's kind of like Romancing the Stone, which I've never seen, but like a romance author who discovers she might actually be able to find this like lost, or no, it's Daniel Radcliffe as the villain,
yes,
who wants her to help him find the real lost city, and then her cover model, played by Channing Tatum, goes to try and rescue her. It looks super stupid.
Channing Tatum, who's just being Fabio.
Yeah, like stupid in the best way possible. That looks super fun. There's a movie that the trailer hasn't come out yet, but I'm interested in. It's called Bullet Train, but it's the new David Leitch movie. So he's one of the two guys who directed John Wick, and he's directed the subsequent ones. He also directed Deadpool 2 and Atomic Blonde, which I loved. But you know, it's like basically a bunch of assassins are on a Japanese bullet train. But the cast: Brad Pitt, Joey King, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Brian Tyree Henry, Zazie Beetz, Masaoka, Michael Shannon, Logan Lerman, Haruyuki Sanada, like Sandra Bullock. Like, it's a ridiculous fucking cast, and it just looks really cool and weird and different.
Yeah, Brad Pitt's in two things next year, right? And both of them.
He's also in The Lost City.
Oh, is he really?
He's in The Lost City. Yeah. And then Mission Impossible 7, just, you know, again, Christopher McQuarrie continues to do great Mission Impossible movies. Super excited for that. From the TV side of things, I'm really looking forward to Halo. I've been waiting for a Halo show for 20 years, and this looks pretty damn good. And if it's even a semi-decent adaptation of the Fall of Reach book, which is way better than it has any right to be for a book based off of a video game, I'm super, super excited for that. So there's that, and then there's a show called The After Party, which is like an ensemble murder mystery comedy.
I'm already in.
I know it has Sam Richardson and I don't know, someone else in it, but it's got a really fantastic cast. And then the last thing is, apparently Donald Glover is co-creating and starring in a remake of Mr. and Mrs. Smith for TV, like the Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie action comedy. So there's some fun stuff coming out next year. Lots of good stuff to look forward to. But
Dave Franco is going to be in The After Party.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah, it's a good cast.
Ben Schwartz, hell yeah.
Yeah, it's it looks pretty damn funny. So, and Tiffany Haddish, that's who I was trying to think of.
Yeah,
she's in it as well.
Ilana Glazer.
Yeah. So
yeah, it's a great cast.
Yeah, but I think that finally does it for us. I think it's the longest episode we've done in a really really long time, but there was apparently a lot to talk about. So, but I hope you enjoyed this list. Would love to hear your guys' thoughts on like what are some of your favorite things you saw this last year and what you're excited about next year as well.
Yeah, there's a lot we missed, so like help us fill out what we didn't see.
So much we missed. Yeah, and there's other stuff that we watched and enjoyed just didn't get a chance to talk about.
Mm-hmm. Go see Snake Eyes. It's still better than it should be, but it's not great.
Maybe someday. Maybe someday. But if you want to reach us, you can at Timm Talk Pod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Gmail.
Yes,
and you can find me at Lordifer on Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah, if you want to see my art, you can find that at Cameron.Dexter. If you want to see my face, you can find that at CamDexter_adventures.
Yay! We will be back in January. Date TBD. Depends on some travel arrangements.
Yes.
But we will be back to finish out Justice League Unlimited and the DC Animated Universe in January of next year. And hopefully we're going to have some guests on, too.
Yeah.
Which we're looking forward to. But yeah, we are winding things down. I think it's fair to say this is our last bonus episode. Mm-hmm. Which is kind of crazy.
I know.
But we did it. 50 bonus episodes.
That sounds great.
Yep. Nice closing point right there.
Mm-hmm. That's a good whole number.
Yes. But thank you, everyone, for listening. Happy holidays. Have a lovely new year. Stay safe and
stay inside.
Stay inside and watch all the things we talked about.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye.